We have completed our discussion on how the British acquired more territories in India. We spoke about the wars they fought, the strategies devised by them, such as subsidiary alliance system, doctrine of lapse, and also the charges of misgovernance that was raised against Awadh. In this particular part of the lesson, we will concentrate on the features of British administration in India. The territories that the British acquired in India were divided into provinces. Three of these provinces were Bengal, Bombay and Madras. These were called presidencies. Every presidency was looked after or administered by a governor, but the overall head was the Governor General. The provinces were further divided into districts which were looked after by the collector. The collector had two tasks to perform. One, revenue collection, and two, the overall administration of the district. To carry out the day-to-day administration, there were four agencies that the British particularly depended upon. One was the civil services for general administration. Second, the army to protect the British territories. Third, the police for law and order and other security purposes. And judiciary for dispensing justice. We will begin by talking about civil services. The civil servants who were stationed in India were primarily Englishmen trained in the colleges of London. Very few Indians could become civil servants. There were several reasons for it. First, the examination was held in London, that is the civil service examination was held in London, and very few Indians could afford the travel cost. Second, the medium of expression was English, and again very few Indians were eloquent in that language or well versed in that language. Third, the maximum age for competing in the examination was very low. Which means if we compare the educational qualifications of an Indian and an Englishman of a particular age, the latter would be far more accomplished because of greater access to educational facilities. So in the competition, the Indian would obviously lose out. The next important agency of the British administration in India was the army. Now, why did the British need a large army in India? They needed a large army to conquer more territories because they used the strategy of war to annex as many territories as possible. Not only annexation of territories, they also needed to protect their territories from the rivals. The rivals could be the French, could be the other European powers who were there in India at that point of time. They also wanted to protect the trading interests of the company because they did not want any kind of competition, and also to suppress internal revolts. If we look at the composition of the British Indian Army, we would see that the cavalry requirements declined, which meant that there were very few horsemen, which was a feature of the Mughal army earlier. Infantry regiments expanded, which means that the number of foot soldiers increased, and most of these soldiers were armed with muskets and matchlocks. Muskets are a kind of heavy gun, and matchlocks are a kind of guns which needed a match to ignite the gunpowder. The British also began to develop a uniform military culture in India, which meant that both the British soldiers and Indian soldiers were trained, disciplined together. They performed drills together. The caste segregations and the religious segregations, they were not given much importance during military training. The police force in India was modernized by Lord Cornwallis in 1791. The district was looked after by the Thana, that is the police station, which was under a Daroga, and the head of the district was the superintendent of the police. Previously, justice in the country was dispensed on the basis of oral traditions, both Hindu traditions as well as Islamic traditions. However, gradually it became difficult to deliver justice on the basis of traditions alone, as there were several interpretations of these traditions. Thus, in 1775, 11 Pandits were asked to compile a digest of Hindu laws, which was later translated into English. A code of Muslim laws was also compiled for the benefit of the European judges. Civil courts or Diwani Adalats and criminal courts or Faujdari Adalats were set up in the district. Civil courts would look after civil issues such as land disputes, etc. and criminal courts would look after criminal issues such as murder, theft, abduction, etc. In 1833, a law commission was set up to arrange the laws into a systematic code, that is, to provide a structure to the Indian legal system. Finally, the principle of rule of law was established throughout the country, which stated that everyone was equal in the eyes of the law. With this, we come to the end of the chapter. The questions and answers will be given in the worksheet that will be uploaded on the school's website, and the questions will also be discussed in the classes. Thank you.